Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to thank Dr. Saccone and Dr. KPC for inviting me here to my beloved alma mater. I'm just thrilled to be here this afternoon and to discuss my teaching career and a project that me and my seniors are currently working on called Agents of Change that I'm really excited about and hope that you get something out of this discussion. I just want to say before I begin that you have chosen the best career that there is. There is nothing as important and fulfilling as being an educator, and I believe that teaching English is the best discipline because it's so open. And that openness to possibilities is what inspired me and drove me to become an educator and to teach English. Precisely the idea of writing one's life. And through the examination of other people's stories, how to revise, envision, and enact our own futures. So I'm going to begin with about a 10-minute sort of narrative biography of my teaching career trajectory. And then I'm going to talk about my time at Lafayette High School and Lafayette International High School and give you a little background as to the demographics and population of the school. And then I will dive into how I thought about developing curriculum for this particularly challenging year and ending with a look at Agents of Change, which is an participatory art project based in social justice. Period. So let's start with a little bio about how I began my teaching career. So I grew up on Long Island and graduated from high school in 1994. I was a first-generation college student. My brothers, my uncles, no one in my family had gone on from high school into a four-year university. Growing up, my family, my father was disabled and my mother was a banker until she had my sister when I was about 12 years old and she stopped working. So I had an unusual, perhaps, role models as far as getting up every day and leaving the house for a job. That wasn't really modeled for me in my formative years. Growing up, I didn't recognize how deeply the disparity in wealth was between myself and my classmates. I noticed that they went on family vacations and I did not. I recognized that they all drove cars and I could not afford one. But it wasn't until applying to colleges that I recognized how deeply those divides were and how that would shape the rest of our sort of educational careers. So I applied to many different schools and was accepted into places such as University of Massachusetts and University of Rhode Island. But then my mother said, well, how do you think you're going to afford those schools? And I didn't know the answer. And so through the wonderful systems of student loans, I was able to attend SUNY Oswego. Period. Having been the first generation student and not really knowing how to be a good student or where my life was taking me, I knew I was interested in education, being a teacher, but I wasn't ready to be an education student. I enrolled as an English major, English writing arts major, and by my senior year, I was double majoring in philosophy. This was because whenever I had the chance to take an elective, I always took philosophical based classes. So it wasn't my intention to be a philosophy major, but I do believe that that foundation was extremely important in not only formulating who I am as a teacher, but who I am as a person. So during that time, some of the most important things that I learned in my undergraduate time at Oswego was in my philosophy of ethics class. And that was something that American philosopher John Rawls developed. It is called the veil of ignorance. And as he was trying to understand how to create a more just society, he believed that all ethical considerations should be undertaken through the veil of ignorance. So beneath this veil, one does not know their age, gender, one does not know their political orientations, their racial or cultural background. One does not know whether they are able-bodied or disabled, nor what their sexual proclivities are or orientations. Period. He believed that this would create the most fair and just society. Period. For me, this idea of the veil of ignorance established for me the foundational understanding that all people want similar things. We want to be happy. We want to be loved. We want to be able to love. And we want to be able to pursue our hopes and dreams. Period. And the differences among us happen because of systems that we are playing out our roles inside of. I think this core understanding is also foundational to my work as a teacher and to helping students to see themselves as active citizens in our fight for social justice and equality. Period. Another important skill I learned by my junior year was how to get an A. I had never been an A student prior to this. And in my junior year, I had the realization that in 2 years I would be leaving the nest of college, which I followed as the idea of experiment. This is what we are told, the path that we are told we should walk in order to have a more fulfilling existence. And I realized that I was nearing the end and I should probably be doing the best that I could. And so I found the secret to an A. Do all your work all the time, on time, to the best of your ability. And from that moment on, I became a 4.0 student. It's just that simple. Period. After graduating from Oswego, I again didn't know where I was going, so I joined my brother who was living in Buffalo, New York. And I began my teaching certification here at Buffalo State College. I was allowed to partake in my student teaching half here at Dr. Lydia T. Wright's School of Excellence under the excellent Judy Dench, and also to teach for a semester at the university, at Masaryk University in Brno. Period, where I was certified CELTA, which is Cambridge English Language Teaching to Adults. Period. This was also foundational to, one, I wanted to learn about English grammar because it was just a hole in my education. And I recognized that I learned more about parts of speech and grammatical principles from my study of French. And so my hope was that through teaching English as a second language, that I would learn the parts of the English language. Period. It was during my time at Buffalo State College where I also met my now husband and partner, Dan Shanahan. And we met in late Victorian literature on the second floor of Ketchum Hall. He was always staring at me, and I thought he must really have liked my response to the interpretation of Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem. Later, he told me it was just my Long Island accent. Period. One Friday afternoon, I was studying in the Fireside Lounge, the second floor of the student union that no longer exists, and he was sleeping on the couch because he had no home at the time. And he was waiting to go out for that evening's activities. He woke up and saw me sitting across the way, and we began talking. And in that first conversation, we talked about everything that we are continuing to talk about and discuss today, which is family, travel, and most importantly, theater. Zooming to the future, Dan and I have been together since that moment in the Fireside Lounge and have founded Torn Space Theater, which is a contemporary performance company located on the east side of Buffalo, where we create both original work, site-specific. We've been working out of Silo City, for the last near decade. For the last 9 years, and also out of the Adam Mickiewicz Dramatic Circle, located on Fillmore Avenue, where we do our more main stage shows. Period. So after getting my teaching certification from Buffalo State College, I began my teaching career here in Buffalo. Interestingly, my house that I was living in was catty corner to Lafayette High School. I didn't know really anything about the city of Buffalo. I knew I wanted to teach in the city and never had any desire to teach in the suburbs.